Welcome.
Thank you.
So please introduce yourself for the audience. We're very excited to have you today.
My name is Elias Goley, also known as Killa, and I am an amateur MMA fighter and
3-0.
Yep,
3-0.
3-0.
So, I mean, I'm excited to talk to you because I love MMA. I've been watching UFC for years, and it's just I did a little bit of wrestling in high school, and so I have like such an appreciation for the fitness. First of all,
Right.
I mean, I thought I was in pretty good shape, and then, on the mat for 20 seconds, it's next level exhausting.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is or why it is. You could probably help explain why it's so crazy, but it's just, I guess it's an adrenaline dump, and it's also just
It's
you're.
constant.
It's like yeah, when you're running, I don't know. There's something even with sprinting. It's not even.
Right.
It's like beyond sprinting. Like if I could sprint for 20 seconds probably and not be that tired.
There's more resistance.
Is that
'Cause
what's
there's
like?
another
Why is it
person.
so exhausting?
I think it's partially because it's you got another person pushing back against you. You're both going for it 100%, and because of that added resistance there versus something like running where you're just moving your limbs through the air, you got pushed back. So it's both like aerobic and anaerobic. Your muscles are working harder against a force, as well as it's just exhausting on the gas tank.
Yeah.
It's also a lot of need your lungs to be
And is it
strong
like
and
there's got to be some adrenaline dump too? Like
Yeah,
is that part of it where it's just, because you got to be kicking into like fight or flight mode. That's what it's kind of designed for, fight or flight mode, right? Where you're in a fight and you're
Right.
like, I was just wrestling. The guy wasn't like gonna be able to like take his elbow and shove it into my eyeball, Like
Yeah.
that's, there's some so it's even though it was like super scary. It wasn't like next MMA is just next level, like scary.
For me, like wrestling in middle school and high school, I probably was more nervous for a lot of my matches than I was for um, my first three amateur
Your current
fights.
MMA fights. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
I think a lot of it, a lot of my nervousness was from just like the ego,
I
the
see.
false ego. You just don't want to lose, right?
That's
That's
interesting.
like the
Right.
worst outcome versus like. Actually, I want to let's say right before the fight, because actually before my first amateur fight, a couple weeks out, I actually definitely was a lot more fearful than
That was
I'd
your
ever
first
been
fight?
before my first
Before
fight.
your first
before
fight?
I had any MMA
Yeah.
fights. I had never been that nervous or scared for any
Yeah.
any competition
I see.
before.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about there's so many possibilities. You can snap your shin, as we've seen.
Oh yeah,
a
that's
few people do.
that's
You
crazy.
can get your arm broken, and even worse, you can there's not been any high profile deaths or whatever, but
Right.
if you get land the wrong way on a slam or something, you can break your neck and get paralyzed maybe, or
Right.
something like that. So
Yeah, right.
all these things are things that I've considered. You have to look at it, I guess, or I try to look at it from a realistic standpoint of like, okay, if I'm going to accept this, potential risks,
Right.
I got to know what they are. So I
Yeah.
got to really think about them, and they're extremely low percentage and
Yeah.
unlikely, but they are possibilities.
Let's face it. If you really look at it, you're probably in more danger like driving to the event in a car. It's like you look at how many people fight or do these things, and the the chances of like a fatal death.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Yeah. Or be getting
or
paralyzed.
paralyzed or some
I'm
major
not
thing.
sure what the numbers
What the
are,
number? Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I'd say it's driving's
Probably a
more
little bit
dangerous.
more dangerous. And
Maybe even driving after. Coming
yeah,
home
right.
From the fight is probably a little
After
more
you're
dangerous.
spinning a bit. Yeah. How about after? So, I mean, you're getting punched in the face a bunch and you're knocked around. I mean, how bad's the recovery? Like how the next the afterwards?
I didn't
How you
take.
feeling?
I mean, my first 2 fights.
Yeah.
I was fortunate to not take any head strikes whatsoever.
Oh, okay, nice.
So, my third fight was very different. I took quite a number of
I see.
good shots.
Were they giving you better dudes? Is that what happened?
You know, I wouldn't necessarily. Well, I think definitely the second guy I fought. I don't want to. You know, I mean, I'm kind of already singling him out right now. I definitely don't think that. I think he had the very lowest chance of beating me.
Yeah.
The first guy I fought, I think I fought a perfect fight more so than he was not good. I finished him in 15 seconds.
On the first fight?
In my first
Well, that's the way to
fight.
do it.
Yeah.
that'll calm some nerves.
Yeah. And it was a very beautiful experience. Honestly, it was.
Yeah, because you get all. So it's like you just mentioned. 2 weeks beforehand, you're just like bricking it.
And you're just climbing trees, my day job, and
yeah,
I was just, you know, like, part of it is there's.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. You do tree trimming for a business, so that's why he's talking about traffic cleans. You might be thinking he's training in the trees, but
No,
he's
that's
not
my
doing
day
any
job.
Tarzan training. He's actually a tree trimmer, and so we'll get into that. Which you started your own business, which is really cool. So we'll get into that. But so yeah, 2 weeks beforehand, you're at work, you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Is it tough sleeping? I mean, is it just?
Maybe I had a night or two where, yeah, I was thinking about the fight and but the closer that the fight came, especially like a week out and the day of, it was more and more calm. Then especially the night or the day before.
Oh, that's interesting.
We went
So
into the weigh-ins.
there was at that 2 week point that was just like, oh man. But then the sooner you got closer to it, the less nervous you were getting. You feel. Do you think that's because of the training? Like you feel like I know because you're going through it mentally and you're just starting to get used to that feeling. I mean, why do you think it was 2 weeks out was bad and then it just got easier as you got there?
I think it was Krishna's mercy.
Yeah.
Like, the nervousness was probably just, you know, a natural, you know, reaction before, you know, something's coming that is like you're putting it all on the line. They're putting it all on the line.
Right.
The first guy I fought, he'd won a number of grappling tournaments.
I see.
He was
so you started, because you do you do a lot of research on the person beforehand. I bet like that's part of your training, right?
Yeah.
Is figuring out what this guy has done and what he specializes and stuff. Yeah.
And he was sending me, you know, all these videos to like try and get in my head and stuff.
He was sending you videos.
Yeah, on Instagram.
So is that part of it? Is that what
I
happens?
really don't think that did anything for him.
No.
Maybe, but
is that a common thing? Like going back?
Nobody else has done that. Right? I mean, my last fight, my third fight, we had a little bit of banter, but it wasn't like it definitely wasn't to the level where he was specifically just like, you know, every other day or every day at some point.
Ding ding. You're like, what the hell is this guy said to me now?
I just was ignoring most of them.
I see, yeah.
I felt like my work doing trees has me like build up a certain tolerance to fear.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I felt like this isn't going to affect me at all, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but either way I did get nervous. I don't know if it's just because I had the fight coming up anyway and I was going to feel them, but then I think it was partially just like accepting, you know, like once you accept like, okay, those things can happen.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go in there, do the best I can.
Yeah.
Offer it to Krishna.
Right.
I kind of considered, I started considering, like, once I go in there, have my walkout music with the names of Krishna playing, these transcendental sounds,
Yeah.
mantras, which are spiritually purifying. So many people who have probably never heard
Yeah, that's right.
these spiritual sounds before will have heard it, and I like whatever happens after that, my job's done, kind of.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way to look at it, that you're offering what you're doing to God and allowing people to hear his names, even though most people have no idea what it is, but it has such an amazing effect hearing God's names. And so just to focus on that, to be able to have that as your offering, and knowing that, because I mean, a lot of people how many people were in there? You think people watching?
Well, that one also is streamed.
So there you go. Right. You don't know how many thousands of people might have heard online as well.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few people that watch it on Fight TV. I know that, I had a number of family members watching.
Oh, yeah, from Jersey?
From New York and New Jersey.
Yeah. Because you're originally from New Jersey, yeah? Is that where you're?
I was born in New Jersey,
You're
but
born in New Jersey.
I
Okay.
grew up in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so there was, who knows how many people were watching? Could be quite a few.
And then
right? Didn't think about that.
In the room, probably, my guess, 3,000 maybe.
1,000?
3,000.
3,000?
Maybe. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a good amount of people there.
Wow, so it's a pretty big
venue.
Wow.
I said.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you look at a crowd. It's really hard to go, this is how many but it was a conference room. It wasn't like a small, wasn't it?
It was
like
a huge conference.
It was a conference room, and there was quite a few people in it. Yeah, so that's.
I would say minimum. Yeah, definitely minimum 1,000.
Yeah, so that's amazing. And so when you started focusing on that, you started to feel like, okay, this isn't like me just trying to prove myself. This is an offering, and that you start to feel a little bit more at peace when you started to kind of think about in that way, in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple verses in the Bhagavad Gita that, I would read to, try and get close to that consciousness, or at least know that is, the goal.
Yeah.
And Krishna tells Arjuna, God, this is a conversation, Bhagavad Gita is a conversation with Krishna, who's God, speaking to his devotee, Arjuna, on the battlefield. And Arjuna doesn't want to fight because there's a number of his family members and people he respects on the other side.
Yeah, so it's a big battlefield. Basically, it's a world war.
Yeah.
5,000 years ago, and you can see historical records of it. And Arjuna's on one side, and his family members and a bunch of his teachers and stuff are on the other side. And Krishna's on Arjuna's side, and Krishna's telling him, fight. Yeah. And then go ahead. Yeah.
And he tells him, fight without considering victory or defeat, gain or loss, and do this as an offering.
As an offering. Yeah.
And so that's how I try to, I definitely have those desires to win and to win in a particular fashion and everything. But I felt like definitely for that first one, I was blessed with probably the closest I've been to having that kind of consciousness where I was like, whatever happens, Krishna, I'm here, just use me to do, or you may lift my hands up in victory, or you may crush me under your foot, but whatever your will is, I'm ready. And
it's such a wonderful thing, because then you've set yourself up for success no matter what, because the
real win is
the real win is you being able to make this offering and feeling closer to God.
Yeah.
If you can experience that, then what kind of a award could pass that?
Yeah.
And so and then 15 seconds
Yeah.
So I didn't see it. I want to see. I think I did see a clip of it, but it was like someone's iPhone, and it's like the cage is.
Yeah,
I just
it's
like
far
who's
away.
who, and it's like it was fast because you said 15 seconds. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you just kind of you took him to the ground quick. Or?
So I had my first move planned. I was going to come out and throw a side kick.
Okay.
And push him back. You know, I had this
Yeah.
vision in my head of what I was going to do. It
Yeah.
didn't end up going the way that I wanted, but it went, you know, Krishna's way, I think. So I went out, I threw this side kick. He threw a kick at the same time. Neither of us touched gloves because we had all this build up, you know, coming up in intensity. And yeah, so we both came out. I think like neither of our kicks really landed because we were both, they kind of both crashed into each other basically. Then, you know, I just kind of wanted to get my footing, pushed him off a bit. And I wasn't expecting him to be as aggressive as he was. I was kind of expecting to go out there and have him maybe be afraid of me. I kind of expect that with almost all of my opponents to some degree for whatever reason. It's probably silly since I had no record or anything. But I was just like, yeah, he's going to be intimidated or, you know, whatever. He's not going to have the kind of mentality that, you know, to just not worry about getting getting beat up. And so he's coming forward. And a lot of my training I do counter fighting and just technical. I try to be as technical and tactical as possible. I don't usually get into brawling, though. My third fight, I totally became a different person and just got into that different mind state of just brawling. So just like things just were coming. You know, Bruce Lee has this quote: "Oh, like when you train enough, you know, you don't hit, it hits all by itself," something like that.
Right, I see.
And that's how it felt. You know, it felt like
basically like muscle memory, I would call it, because I trained as a tennis pro, and when you're not thinking, and you get you know, when you're thinking about where to put the ball,
no mind,
and it's all muscle memory, and you're like in this kind of state where you're not even really thinking about technique's like gone, and you're just thinking about where you want to put the ball and your strategy. It's like that's like the pinnacle. So that's kind of similar to what he was talking about. Like it's kind of like muscle memory. You're not thinking about turn my elbow over or whatever, you know, like that kind of thing.
Like your thoughts kind of get out of the way.
Yeah.
Basically, like if you're thinking you're half a second slower or whatever it may be, right? That it's like a flow state or ultra instinct, some people call it, or whatever, you know. Silly names for it. But yeah, it felt like that. Like I was just watching these things come out, and everything was just, I didn't get hit. I rocked him with like the second punch I threw.
Oh, I see.
And then kicked him in the jaw, punched him again. Then he's crashing into me because he knows he's hurt. He wants to take it into grappling.
Right.
And I mean, you know, I think he wasn't expecting me to be a decent wrestler or a grappler.
I see.
You know, because I was in our little chit chats, shit talk before the fight. You know, I was talking all this stuff about how I'm gonna knee him if he shoots for takedowns, and like, and not gonna, you know, I'm gonna outstrike whatever. So and all the stuff that I'd posted on my Instagram up until that point, and I kind of tried to put off that. I want people to underestimate me, you know.
Right.
So I didn't show much grappling or whatever.
I see.
Just hitting in the bag or a little bit of striking here or there.
Right.
And so, and he told me after the fight actually that he was not expecting me to be a wrestler, but I think partially him being hurt from the strikes already played in, and so I just quickly he started going for a headlock. I ducked under, got his back. I had one of his arms wrapped up against his body. I picked him up, which I do this all the time, and I did. This is one of my go-to moves from wrestling. And in the gym, whenever I go for takedowns, I like take the back, wrap that arm. If I can grab the wrist, hold on to the wrist. And I've never slammed anyone like with the intention to dunk them out before, but it just came to me in the moment, you know. I lifted him up, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is like the situation where you're going all out with someone. You're trying to hurt them. You're trying to put them away. And so I was like, all right. And then I just made that decision halfway up into the he was halfway up in the air, and I was like, okay, he's going down hard.
Right.
Slammed him on the side of his head and his shoulder, and he was out.
He was out from the hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
That was it. Yeah. So I raised my I thought I was like,
you didn't know he was out.
I think he might be out.
Yeah.
And I raised my hand to strike. I saw he was knocked out, and I was like, okay.
That's it. You saw he was out.
Yep, didn't hit him again.
And that was your first one. So, so you didn't get any damage. You just so that was pretty an ideal fight. Obviously, you're not getting any damage, and obviously ended in victory.
Yeah, and I don't think that he was necessarily, not as good as like the last guy I fought that I didn't finish, and we went all 3 rounds. I think it just happened the way it happened. I fought a better fight, and things can snowball real quick when you're,
Yeah, and I mean, I can see that how that's your first fight. People don't really know what you're doing, not much footage. So I can imagine how the more you're fighting, the more it gets harder because people start to see what you're doing, and do you have to start like doing kind of secret training, secret moves kind of thing? Is there anything that kind of thing where it's like when you get, I mean, you're still kind of starting out too, but I can imagine.
I feel lucky, so far.
Yeah.
Because my second fight, they only have 15 seconds of footage. Where are they going to learn about my tendencies, really? You know?
Right.
All they see is like, holy shit, this guy.
Right. This guy
it's like you don't want to watch that too much because it gets in your head like, oh,
right.
He finishes me in 15
right.
seconds.
15 seconds.
And then my second one, again, the guy landed a couple good timed leg kicks on me where I was just about to kick him the second after. And so my leg was up, or my other leg was up. I was on one leg. He kicked my leg. I went down, but it wasn't like they were super. A lot of people maybe thought that they were super hard or whatever. It was just perfectly timed.
Yeah.
And so I went,
got
back up.
Yeah.
And then, so I
How long was the second one?
It was about a little over a minute.
Also, still first round,
something like that.
TKO kind of deal.
It was I choked him out.
Oh, you choked him out.
Rear naked choke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He had his guard up. I didn't really get any beautiful clean shot or anything. Hit him with a kick, right maybe behind his hand.
Yeah.
But he partially blocked it, and then I threw an uppercut. He went down, and then I took his back, a little bit of ground and pound, and rear naked choke.
Rear naked.
So same thing. Like I felt like, my third opponent's probably still gonna, not have much to study on me. And then I had my third fight, which I fought like I don't usually fight. So I feel like even my next fight, they're not gonna know what to expect really.
Right.
Still.
So how did the third one go? It was a little longer. You said it was a bit of a brawl.
Yeah. So that one was,
which is a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, it was a crowd pleaser. That's for sure. It was a 3-minute round amateur championship fight. So we fought for the amateur Trinity Kings 170-pound welterweight strap.
Oh, okay.
And this guy, he had beaten one of my teammates who was very good. We train together in the gym all the time, and we go back and forth. So.
The guy you fought, you trained with him?
No.
The guy he beat.
He had beat.
Oh, so I see. So the guy who's like you're feeling pretty equal with a loss to the guy you're gonna fight.
Right.
So that starts to kind of get in your head a little bit, or.
I felt like my style was better for the guy that I was going up against. My teammate is a little bit more heavy on the wrestling. Yeah. And I'd prefer to be striking with him, and he's a striker. So
the guy you fought,
the guy that I fought for the belt. He's from Kauai. CJ Kahipu'u. Okay. And so I got in there. We did have a little bit. He missed weight for that fight when he beat my teammate.
I see.
So he was like 4 pounds over.
Right.
And so I made a little comment to him
Right.
where I sent a little the new pregnant man emoji.
Right.
And I was like, I hope you don't miss weight this time.
Right.
I think that's, one of the few appropriate uses of that emoji. And and then, yeah, he had sent me a couple things back and forth.
Right.
Like, oh, talk big game, better
Right.
be ready to walk the walk. You haven't
Yeah,
been
right.
in there with a shark.
How
like
old
me
was
and
he?
This or that. I think he's right around my age.
Okay.
Something. I'm almost 27.
You're almost
and,
27.
He's probably right around there. I don't
I
know
see.
how old he is. He's got quite a few more amateur fights than me.
Uh-huh.
I think also the online amateur.
Yeah, because that must be pretty quick. I mean, you only did 2 fights and they put you in this belt.
I think they were possibly he's like a bit of a bigger draw probably.
I see.
So they probably wanted him to win.
I got you.
I mean,
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But and I was on a two fight. I'd fought recently, right? So people have seen me, right? They've seen me fight recently. I beat these guys both in the first round.
Right. So that might have been like, oh,
there's a little bit of hype there, maybe still.
Two exciting fights.
They're like, oh, he's gonna fight this guy who's good.
Yeah.
But I think probably I was getting, I was the B side, of that fight.
Right.
But
so when they
have,
when they kind of set up, like a title fight kind of thing, like what happens after like a title fight like that? So that was an amateur title fight. He was amateur. You guys are amateur.
Yeah.
And so pro is obviously you're making money, but is there you have to do a certain amount of amateurs to get pro, or is there any kind of protocol thing or anything?
So everything just goes through the commission, the Hawaii MMA commission.
Okay.
And it's basically up to their discretion.
I see.
Who gets to fight as pro? You when you apply, you tell them your kind of experience. If you've got wrestling experience from high school, college,
I see.
whatever. If you've been boxing since you were 12 years old, whatever. Doing karate, jiu-jitsu, your BJJ black belt.
Right.
And if you've had any amateur fights, they consider all these things.
I see.
I didn't apply, I thought about just
apply. You thought of applying to be pro, so you have to apply to be pro. Basically, you have to kind of send in your whatever your resume in a sense.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Fight
there's
resume.
an application. There's an application that they have you fill out. And you can do it without any amateur fights. You can, and you can get approved. It's not rare at all. But I just started going to the gym. They recommended to hybrid a house.
Your gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they recommended starting with some amateur fights. So did that. And I'll probably take.
And so your next fight's in August, and that's amateur.
In August, that'll be amateur. And we'll see how that goes.
And then
I just take them one at a time, pretty much. But probably
and then,
if that goes well, go pro.
One at a time. And so you know who you're fighting, obviously, because it hasn't set up yet.
No.
Oh, okay. Because it's a couple months away.
Yeah.
So you got. So like you're taking 4 fights a year. Is that? You're just kind of taking it by.
Thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be 4 fights. I could have taken another one sooner.
Okay.
I decided after my last fight, I went out there. I didn't show what I felt I didn't feel like I showed my best self. Yeah. Or best.
Yeah. So how did it go? The third one, you said, like, how did that? What was the? How long was that one?
It was 3 3-minute rounds. I went out there. Like I said, there was a little bit of shit talk, and I had talked a little bit, right, with talking about him missing weight and whatnot. So I guess I had felt maybe a little more pressure I was like, okay, I got to get like another first round finish, put that on myself. So I went out there swinging big to try and finish in the first round. And I was durable, and I probably in martial arts in general, like what really puts people down, aside from maybe like when you get really huge guys have heavyweights and stuff, is just hitting people when they're not expecting it, getting them, setting it up really is how you get good knockouts. So I wasn't taking that approach. I was taking the big swing.
I see.
You know,
Going for gold.
Yeah, just trying to be like a
Right.
super hard hitter or something.
Yeah, right.
Which is not probably the angle that I should take. Yeah, and it still went well.
Yeah, you still won.
Yeah,
I
I felt I won
was
every
it-
round, but one judge gave.
Oh,
one
so
round
was
to-
it?
to
Did
the
it go
other
to
guy.
decision then?
Yeah,
I went to decision. Okay.
Two of the judges gave me every round. One judge gave him one round.
Okay.
Not sure which round.
Right. I see.
Yeah.
So okay, so it's pretty.
He took me
Pretty
down in
definitive.
the first. If I had to guess, it was probably that one.
I
Even though
see.
he didn't hit me with anything
Uh-huh.
significant at all. When he got on top, I got out
Right.
after, I don't know.
So you took some damage.
Yeah. So
how'd that
the
feel?
whole fight, yeah.
That's kind of. I'm always kind of curious. Like,
Yeah, you can still see one of my cuts up here.
Oh,
that
wow.
I got.
okay, yeah, I do see a little bit.
Yeah. It's,
So that
scarred now.
it was opened up pretty good.
So he hit me with some nice
I see.
elbows as I was coming in,
Uh-huh.
and one of those opened up my forehead, but I barely felt it
Yeah.
in the moment. The only thing I would say is like things were a little bit fuzzy. Like,
I see. Yeah, so when you get
in
hit,
between rounds.
so
is
when you
when I
get hit,
noticed it.
it's just you don't. It's not like pain, right? It's more of just like you're kind of a bit out of it all of a sudden. Is that kind of like a description of getting hit pretty hard, or does it hurt? Are you like feeling like, damn, that hurts so much? I'm kind of like, or is it more of just like, fuck, I'm out of it? Is that more like I always kind of wonder, is it the pain or is it just like the damage? Because I'm always kind of wondering what it's like to just get slammed, like in the face, like punched, heavy over and over again or whatever.
Yeah. There wasn't pain.
Yeah.
There wasn't any acknowledgement of like, oh, that shot hurt or this or that.
Yeah.
There was one shot that he hit me with where like there was a little star flash,
Right.
but that was like, it's here and gone.
Yeah.
The second after, I pushed forward and got one of my better moments of that round.
Uh-huh.
He hit me with a good one, but I felt it was the same. At the same time, I threw a kick to his liver. He hit me with a left, I think it was a left straight or a left hook. It might have been,
Uh-huh.
I think it was the left straight. And I felt like even though I acknowledged that it was a good shot, I was like, oh, I got him with a good shot.
Right.
I was
One
like,
for
I
one.
felt better
Uh-huh.
about my shot because I had been landing to the body a lot.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, at some point, this guy's, and he never went down from it, but
Yeah.
I was like, at some point, it's going to be adding up. So
Uh-huh.
I pushed forward after that, pushed him up against the cage, landed a bunch of good shots right after that.
Yeah.
And there was no moment in the fight where I ever felt like worried.
Yeah.
But actually, in the first round when he took me down, I was like, oh shit, like can't let him get too much off here as far as ground and pound, or else
You could lose the round.
yeah, I could lose the round. It could add up, just like getting beat up a bit on the ground. But I didn't let him get anything good off there. So, other
So that
than
was
that,
saved the day
there
kind
was
of
nothing
Yeah.
huge. I've been hit worse in sparring.
Uh-huh. Body shots. I mean, if you're getting, what does that do afterwards? I mean, how you feeling? Are you like pissing blood afterwards? I mean, it's like you can't like eat. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on how many shots and stuff. I mean, I just can imagine just getting the guts and the ribs and the liver, and it's got to be like moving toxins around or something. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not.
you haven't gotten too much.
Not a scientist, so I don't know.
Well, yeah,
what it's
I mean, more of
doing
like
in
what you're
there.
feeling, like,
yeah,
is it
so
like you don't want to eat? It's like you feel nauseous. I'm just kind of curious, like what kind of side effects and stuff.
I would say it's mostly just like you don't want to get hit there again.
I see.
As far as what I've gotten so far, I haven't been. I know a couple of guys that have been put down by a liver shot.
Yeah.
And basically they say it's just like your body just has a reaction where it just shuts down.
Yeah.
I've gotten hit with lots of good shots, strong shots to the body. Solar plexus, I've gotten one where I was like, whew, like
Winded kind of.
I just probably took a pause or in the sparring for a couple seconds, but for the most part, what I've experienced is just like you start guarding more because
it just starts getting.
So I guess maybe
it's
if I got
sore,
another
right? It
good
just
one
hurts more and more
in the same spot, then I would know a little more about.
Yeah, right.
The extreme.
What is the recovery
version.
like? I mean, you haven't had too many. What's like for damage? Like, you got this cut. I mean, what? How long before you're back in the gym? Type of thing. I guess, because if you get, obviously, I mean, you can get more serious hurts, but that play institute. I guess the recovery time to start getting back into it.
One of the funny things with my fights so far has been that like the second fight where the guy. He kicked me a couple good times to the leg, but other than that, I didn't get hit with anything, and it was over in a minute and 15 seconds. Versus my third fight, he's landing multiple good strikes on me throughout the rounds, 3 rounds, 3 minutes. A lot more time, a lot more what would look like a close fight, and I was a lot more injured after my second fight from hitting the guy. My right hand.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, my right hand. Was injured, and I only had a month in between my second and third fight.
I see.
So my hand was hurting right up until like the day before my third fight, and my foot as well.
I see.
Up until like a week. So I kicked the guy with my left foot. Skulls are extremely hard and dense, and foot bones are all small.
Oh yeah, it's just bone on bone. That's
So my foot was swollen for a week. Yeah, and it hurt for a month. And like I was kicking pads, and I was just like, I can't throw full strength right now because I need it to recover before I have my fight.
Right. Yeah.
So I would just ease off a bit.
Yeah. Right.
And I took with those two, where my foot and my hand, I took like a week off of sparring. But I was still shadow boxing and watching jiu-jitsu and working with my grappling dummy and stuff like that, or going to the gym and doing some jiu-jitsu.
So for like a high level kind of fighter like yourself, like what kind of percentage is like, okay, say you're training, I don't know how many hours you train a week, for example, like if you're really going for it.
Right. Before my fights, I'm training 6 days a week and like 3 hours every day.
So like 20 hours a week. It's like that's like a lot.
6 times 3,
yeah. So that's quite a bit. 20 hours.
Yeah.
So of that percentage, how much are you doing cardio, doing weights, doing sparring on, like? Could you maybe break it down? Like, I don't know if this is going to ruin your strategy. Everyone's going to know your secrets. But like, how much you're grappling, how much you're wrestling, boxing, sparring, like weights. Like, I'm just kind of curious because, I'm just fitness wise, I know it's such a strategy of like, because I know I've always heard like the big muscle guys, they don't last that long because the blood fills up in the muscles and they tend to look good and have a good strong hit, but their cardio isn't there because of the muscles. Is that accurate? Is that?
I'm not a huge dude, so I wouldn't know. I know that I have good cardio.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge dude, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Right.
As far as how much I break it down, basically before all of my fights right now, I did basically 0 lifting. I am, running my tree business, which is not only like hard work days, like as far as just physical exhaustion, but the amount of time that it takes to like after work, go dump the truck, go out to estimates, write up the estimates, and still get to train.
Right.
Is like the important thing is for me to get the skills. striking skills, the grappling
gotcha.
skills. So that was what my extra time was dedicated to. I probably could have lifted, on a Sunday or something,
Right.
but I just rested instead,
Right, I
for
see.
the most part.
Right.
And so yeah, basically
It's a lot of strategy,
and
technique and strategy kind of stuff.
yeah. And the only cardio I really did was a couple swims. I think swimming is probably it's like a good recovery / cardio, I think, because your muscles aren't like getting the tear or the wear and tear from like running. The joints,
Right.
aren't experiencing the jolt.
Right.
And also it makes you, like, you have moments in grappling where somebody's got to choke, right? You got to work on your breathing, be able to like still go after not breathing for a little while. So if you're swimming, you go down for a little bit.
Right.
Before you can come back up, get a breath, whatever, and your muscles are working, during that. So I felt like that was a good. Plus, we're in Hawaii, right? So like,
so you're going to the ocean and
it's just right there.
Yeah,
beautiful
right.
ocean,
Easy
and,
cardio.
and I think it applies well. And then, I didn't do a regular schedule. That was just kind of whenever we were at the beach, I just go for a bit of a swim.
Yeah.
And then again, aside from that, I would break it down. And so I was probably striking the most as far as my training.
Both kicking and boxing and kicking is
kickboxing.
kind of the same.
So I have a boxing coach
Okay.
and a boxing class, and then we have a kickboxing class, and
Okay.
I have a kickboxing coach. So I was mostly doing kickboxing because boxing obviously is all allowed, right? But with kickboxing, everything that goes in the fight as far as the striking, I mean, besides the takedowns goes, right? So I just felt like it's important, and kicking is a big part of my game. So I feel like that translates a little bit more, and just getting used to, if you get too used to, I think if you box all the time, you get used to people not throwing their kicks, and then all of a sudden you're in the fight, you're like expecting a punch, you slip and you get hit.
Because kickboxing's both, right? Kicking and strike and
punching.
So it's both.
Yeah.
So
it's just a little more inclusive, right?
Yeah.
So, but I still like to specifically work my hands and work my boxing. I think it is very beneficial, but I feel like my time is better spent a little bit more in the kickboxing. And again, building my game, playing my punches off my kicks, playing my kicks off my punches, whereas that that's not something I'm going to be able to work in a boxing class or boxing sparring. And then jiu-jitsu and MMA classes, probably 40. It was probably 40% of what I was doing, and I was mostly relying on my wrestling, because wrestling, they sometimes work it at the MMA or the jiu-jitsu classes, but as far as having like a specific day just for wrestling, I haven't had too much of that yet. They have some that they started recently, some wrestling specific classes at Hybrid, so
I see.
I'll be going to those more.
Yeah. And then, I don't know if we want to talk about costs. I'm just kind of curious the costs of the training, because you got to pay for training and pay for. Is it a membership? Is it? I'm just curious. Each class, is it go by hours? Is it a monthly thing?
It's monthly.
So it's a monthly. You pay a lump sum every month, and that covers unlimited.
So yeah, they have different options for,
I see.
for people. So like if you're just gonna do striking or just gonna do jiu-jitsu there, it's I'm not sure actually, because I'm not doing that option. It's probably around 150 for just doing one, but then you can add on doing both for 200
I got
a
you.
month.
Oh, okay. So
and then
they got packages kind of thing.
Yeah. And then I think also you can they have a weightlifting program there as well at the gym. So you can do.
Does it get to the point where if you win enough, are they now like, well, we want you at this gym, you're helping bring people in?
Right.
I guess that it must get to that point. Is it at some, for pros, is it?
I would say probably would have to be ranked in the UFC.
I see. So you got to
To
you got to be up there. You
Yeah,
gotta
I would say it's not like, oh, you're the amateur champ now.
be- yeah,
You get
yeah,
to train for
yeah.
free. Yeah. So, because I mean, they want to build a number of amateur champions. So if you're gonna have a
Right.
lot, and it's a fight gym. It's not like
Not a training gym.
it's not like a hobbyist
Right,
gym. Hobbyists go there. We have a
I see.
number of hobbyists, but primarily speaking,
Because like the
it's-
UFC gyms, they seem like hobbyist gyms. Am I wrong?
Yes.
So they're hobbyist gyms.
Yeah,
They're not.
absolutely. That's like a general population, and they're mostly focused on the weights and the cardio
and the like the
general
appearance,
fitness.
basically, right?
It's mostly general fitness.
General fitness.
Gym.
Yeah.
It's not like a
Training.
it's not
Yeah.
like a martial
Okay.
arts specific gym for
Right.
the most part. It's
Right.
like kind of you can also do martial arts classes here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess of course if you're doing well as well, possibilities in doing training teaching yourself down
Yeah.
the road. And that's obviously what a lot of these guys get into as well, is being able to train other people once you get to those kind of levels. And so it's a pretty bit. Would you say it was in Kaneohe? Is that what you said?
Which it's in
your gym?
Kailua.
It's in.
Hybrid is in Kailua.
That's on Kailua. I see.
On Hamakua Drive.
That's the biggest. Is that like the biggest gym in Kailua then?
As far as martial arts,
MMA.
MMA, probably.
Okay. So there's more than one. There's a couple in there.
I mean, the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu does have an MMA class,
I
but
see.
it's
So there's
it's
a Gracie
primarily
Jiu-Jitsu in
jiu-jitsu.
Kailua as well.
Yeah.
I see. So you got some good stuff in Kailua.
Yeah.
So what you were talking to me about this before, about the culture in Hawaii, which was really interesting to me. Like because like I'm in Waianae here, and it's definitely a bit of a scrapper culture, and my kids they train just for like different sports they do, and there's a boxing gym right there, and I all the time when I'm waiting for my kids, I'll go in there and watch, and definitely MMA. I know Max Holloway came out of that gym, and I was down there and he was hanging out. Actually, this guy was picking a fight with him for some reason. It was really strange. This is a couple weeks before he was going for his championship with. I mean, this is at his peak, and this guy was like talking to him. And it was a whole scene. I was just like, "Hey, man!" And I didn't know I was in the middle of something, because I was like kind of starstruck, because he's one of my favorite fighters. I didn't even know he was from Waianae. I was watching him in like the WEC days, and I was just like, "This guy's like a brawler," just like so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I had no idea he was a Waianae guy. So. There's definitely a culture here, especially, I mean, even before he was doing it, Waianae was just, there's this kind of warrior kind of mentality, big football sports.
Yeah.
And then when I started getting MMA, I was realizing, wow, there's a lot of people into MMA. That gym was always packed, a lot of people into it. I think there's a bunch of gyms around. And it just seems like Hawaii in general seems to be pretty big on
culture.
MMA. Yeah. Is that what you kind of, I mean, you were in New York. Was it high school kind of stuff? You were more school based.
Wrestling. I did do jiu-jitsu and karate.
Oh, you did?
Well, actually, it was pretty interesting. It was Tiger Schulman's karate, and they switched the very a month or two after I started. They switched their name to Tiger Schulman's MMA.
I see.
So they started doing kickboxing.
And that was in New York.
Yep.
Where you were.
New York. Yep.
And so you were training
Striking
there, and
classes and
like
jiu-jitsu
18.
classes.
You were like
no, I was before I did wrestling.
Oh, okay.
So I was it was from like 10 to 12, and then
10 to 12. They were doing
I
MMA
started.
back then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It
early
was-
days.
It was early. Yeah, they were
They
one
were
of
on
the
it.
first on it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So you got a taste of MMA pretty early.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And then you
Rapid
were
triangles since I was
yeah.
10 or something.
That's got to help a lot, because I mean, kids, they just pick up stuff and you absorb it into your
Yeah.
kind of, into how you just kind of see things.
Yeah.
And then so you were in New York, you were training MMA when you were like 10, 12, and then you were doing school, also wrestling in high school.
Wrestling,
And
middle school, high
then
school.
after that, did you do, what was kind of,
Yeah, so I stopped doing martial arts for a while. I became like a pacifist.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was like a vegan
Right.
hippie for a few years.
Right.
And
On the Big Island, of course.
yeah,
The hippie capital of America now,
yeah,
basically, right?
yeah,
And so you were hanging out there and chilling, doing some meditation and yoga and
yeah,
picking coconuts.
yeah.
Yeah. And you were there for how long on your Big Island for?
Well, I immediately went to Aloha Farms where I learned about kirtan meditation,
Okay.
and chanting Krishna's names.
That's
and
Shankar's place?
Maha.
Oh, that's Maha's. Okay.
Mahaprabhu, yeah. And I was there for 3 months before I, like, really took Krishna into my heart and accepted, or just like experienced his love for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was very powerful. And then I was there for 4 years. About.
4 years. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you
And
didn't
then
train
came-
much during that time? Kind of.
No, not really. I did like martial arts tricking a little bit,
Uh-huh.
just for fun. You know, I never got really great at it or anything.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, I pulled out one of my Kick the Moon celebration after my first fight, you know, little cheat gainer backflip thing.
Right.
Yeah. So I would do that occasionally, and 540 kicks, tornado kicks, that kind of stuff,
Right.
just for fun. And yeah, I got back into it during COVID, pretty much.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching MMA again. Like, when I was on the Big Island, I didn't watch pretty much anything.
Mhm.
There was like barely internet access. The Wi-Fi was sketchy. Everything. I
Right.
just was like in the nature, you know.
Yeah, you're in the jungle, man.
in the, natural world. It was very nice, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
More emotive goodness and
Yeah.
everything. And but yeah, so I've been watching MMA again for the last, basically since I moved to Oahu, and that just, you know, reignited that. I always had a desire to or interest in fighting in mixed martial arts. When I first saw it with my dad, I was probably like 8 years old or
Yeah.
something like that.
So your dad was into it?
Yeah, my dad would watch, and he would rarely, occasionally, he would let me watch a little bit.
I see.
And
How
then-
many you got siblings?
yeah, I've got older brother, younger sister.
Older brother, younger sister. Okay. And so yeah, you started watching it with your, I know you have older brother, so he's is he bigger than you? Is that kind of is he?
He's a year older, so we were always.
Oh, you're older, so
extremely
you guys are close.
No. Well, he's a year older.
Yeah, but you're pretty close
Yeah,
in age.
so he was not even a whole year older.
Oh, really?
We're like Irish twins. I call it.
Irish twins.
Yeah, and so yeah, I was always super competitive with him, always wanting to beat him. We did fight quite a bit when we were little.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got into a few
that's
scraps.
how you start, right? With the older brother. I have an older brother too. He's 3 years, so
He
he
broke
couldn't
my
really do too
hand.
much until we got it older. But we never really fought that much. I mean, my brother was pretty chill. But like sports wise, I totally attribute any sport ability I have because of my brother. Just gotta beat him, you know, just gotta beat my brother. Like that was like so determined. So that helps. I mean, obviously with competition. And was your brother into MMA and stuff too?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
So that-
he's probably again. He's been into it again also.
Oh, he's
since
getting into it
COVID
too.
More.
Oh yeah.
And he was super excited for my MMA
Yeah.
debut.
Right.
And my all my fights.
Yeah,
And,
nice.
He'll probably be my manager.
Oh yeah.
moving
Oh,
forward,
that's
so.
exciting.
Yeah. And actually, you know, our last fight that we had.
You and your brother.
Yeah, me and my brother. He broke my hand.
So this is like
I
a
could-
serious, pretty serious. You guys got some pretty serious scraps.
Yeah. I mean, we only got. I think there was really only one where we were at the stage of like
Really, like,
post
100%.
puberty.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we could actually really hurt each other.
I see.
And he got me so angry. He was always so good at like picking and getting under my skin with his words, and this is another good example of why like just being more calm and tactical
Mm.
is like superior to like getting just angry and trying to swing for people.
Yeah,
'Cause
right.
he was right in front of me like this.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to hit him so hard.
Right.
I missed.
I see.
Right. And so then he pushed me back onto my bed. I just covered up. He punched me a few times and
Right.
broke my hand. I couldn't wrestle the end of that year.
So he like
'Cause I
punched
had
you
a
in your
cast
hand and it
on.
broke.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting because you mentioned that because you practice meditation on a regular basis, and you've been practicing for years now. And so what kind of advantage do you think? And also you mentioned a plant-based diet. Is that kind of a big part of what your diet-wise as well, plant-based?
So yeah, I'm no meat, fish, or eggs.
Yeah.
I don't eat meat, fish, or eggs. And I was a vegan for 4 years or something
Uh-huh.
like that, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And when I first went vegan, man, it was like I felt like so much, and I had so much energy.
Oh yeah.
And at that point, I was kind of like probably eating the healthiest I've ever eaten.
Uh-huh.
Since then, I've kind of had more of the
Fast foods.
indulgent
Yeah.
vegan or vegetarian.
You're busy. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Vegetarian stuff, ice cream and the like, you know. And but at that point, my mom was, you know, I was like 17, and my mom was.
So you were
making-
vegan when you were 17.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. My mom was making for me all these like whole food delicious.
Oh, wow, so they were
amazing
totally
meals.
like cool with it and like into it.
My
and-
mom was. I don't know if she was. You know, she's super supportive.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of like, she would make something for me, even
Yeah.
though the
Oh,
rest
wow.
of my family's eating something else.
Oh,
you know?
that's nice.
But they didn't necessarily. I was kind of a dick too
Uh-huh.
about it sometimes.
As 17-year-olds can be sometimes.
Yeah.
I know. I put my parents through a lot with 17.
So I was a little bit shamey about it, and but regardless, you know, there would be like rice and broccoli and this and that. And I just felt like so the best I've ever felt in my body as far as like energy and recovery and everything. I just felt like it was a big switch, and I should probably eat like that if I'm gonna, you know,
Train and stuff.
pursue
But
this.
you're off meat, fish, or eggs all the time though. You
Yeah.
just talk about like ice creams and stuff
I'm
like that.
Talking about like going back to like Whole Foods.
Whole Foods. I see.
Yeah, Whole Foods. And,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, because nutrition. I hear all the time. A battle of nutrition. Battle of nutrition.
Yeah.
So is that how conscious are people? Yeah, at the gym are they talking about nutrition?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got one coach who's very, very into
He's very nutrition
sports
stuff.
science,
Oh, yeah.
nutrition, and he gives people nutrition advice. Of course, it
Yeah.
involves a lot of meat eating and
Yeah.
stuff. So I just kind of do my
Bypass
own
that.
thing. But
It's
yeah,
I thought it was going more that way because I watched this documentary with NFL guys. Did
Yeah.
you see that documentary? I forget what it was called. It was on Netflix, and it was
I'm pretty
it was
sure
a
I
whole
saw
bunch of NFL
vegan
guys.
athletes.
Yeah,
right?
they all
I
went
don't
meat. They all tried it. They're like, okay, we'll try it.
Mhm.
And so they all went through this process for months, not eating meat, and they had all this blood work, and they just like literally just showed them blood work before and afterwards, and it was like pretty striking, even just visually seeing the difference in the quality. I mean, it's like how thick when they were eating meat compared to when they weren't. And then they started talking about recovery. They started talking about how they felt, talk about all these different things. And so it feels like it's really, is there a shift? I don't know how much a shift there is, but that movie seemed like there was a big shift. I don't know how much there is going on in kind of sports.
I mean, where we're at is definitely not like high level. People don't have nutritionists, you know what I mean? It's
Right.
just kind of, okay, I read this thing, or
Right.
saw this thing, and I think for the most part, people, there's like an expert recommending every kind of, you know, lifestyle
Yeah.
or path.
You
right?
can find an expert
if
advising
you
anything.
want to do
Yeah.
be super healthy and eat ice cream all the time. There's an expert in that. You know what I mean? I'm exaggerating here, but
Right.
whatever people
Yeah.
want,
Right.
they'll
There's
tend
a coach
to lean
for that.
towards, and
Right.
they'll just be like, oh yeah, I think that's how I'll eat or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I haven't noticed any. I don't think anybody else in my gym's vegetarian
Right.
or anything. But
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Right.
It works for me. You know, I'm doing well. I feel strong and healthy, and I'm beating guys that are eating meat. So
Yeah. Right.
this is,
Proof is in the.
yeah. It's as competitive as you can get.
Right.
With that. So
Right.
um,
Yeah. So your tree business, you just started it. You started your own business.
yeah.
Have you started your own business before? You ever had an kind of your own business before?
Yeah. I tried starting. I mean, I don't know if you could. When I first started like raising money when I was in high school for like trying to do a feature film.
Okay.
Which we did shoot in between my junior and senior year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like my first business venture in a sense.
Right.
Like,
Because you had to bring in some money.
Yeah.
How old were you then?
16.
16.
I guess.
Oh yeah.
16 or 17,
Oh,
depending
cool.
on
That's
when
cool.
my birthday was.
Oh, yeah. So you raised some cash to shoot a feature.
Yeah.
And did you write it and produce it and direct and act in it?
Yes.
Kind of typical indie kind of guy.
Yes, exactly. And our audio got ruined by we had an incompatible microphone for we had like a Zoom
Oh, I
A4N,
see.
and it was like phantom power microphone or something like
Right.
that, and they ended up having this terrible ticking sound baked into the
shit.
audio, so nothing ever came of all the stuff that we shot.
Oh, so you shot it, but you never edited it. You couldn't do
I
much
edited.
with that. Oh, you did.
You know, I edited some of it, and all the voices kind of sounded weird. You know, because I was trying to edit out that baked in
So
sound.
the money you raised, how much? Do you want how much money you raised? Is it cool?
3,500.
And then
like
was that for
that
different
was
equipment
for renting equipment
for renting equipment
primarily, and then like feeding the crew.
Yeah. Right.
So it was my friends all volunteered to help out. So
Right.
it was like very as minimal as we could get.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Nice. And so that was kind of your first kind of venture, trying to deal with money, and 16 is pretty young, so you're probably not too much experience. Especially as Americans, we don't Canadians, we don't work too early, not like other cultures. Like I know.
Right.
And then after that, did you have any?
Yeah. So I tried to do a like a music production website where I produce music for either artists or content creators. And they would purchase music from me.
Were you uploading it to these platforms, like these different ones that they have, or when was this? Was it a while ago?
This was when we first came to Oahu, so it was 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Okay.
It was pretty short-lived. I didn't invest too much money into it. I kind of threw a little bit into the advertising, didn't get purchases, so I was like, okay,
right,
let me try something else. At that time, already the tree, the opportunity to learn trees and possibly start my own business was kind of open.
You were working in that field already. You were helping out with some other crews.
I had done some tree work on the Big Island, and my brother-in-law offered to teach me.
Okay.
Anjali's brother, Narayan.
Oh yeah. So he had a tree business. He has a tree business.
No. He offered to teach me just the the work.
I see.
The work
side of it.
And then so I just applied kind of the studying that I'd done as far as marketing and Google Ads and
I see.
That kind of stuff, which I tried to do for my music production. And then I'd done a bit of studying on the business aspect of a number of different things that I never really even started, but I studied them and then kind of applied them first really when I did the tree business, and we just started with a pickup truck and trying to get coconut trimming jobs, fan palm trimming jobs, whatever we could.
Yeah.
Then we started getting some calls to do like mango removals, mango trims, and big shower tree monkey pods and stuff. And we were like, all right, well, this had an opportunity to get a dump truck for a good price, and we're like, should we make the jump?
Right.
Just talking with my wife, and we did, because there's opportunity to make a lot more money with doing larger jobs.
Right.
And interestingly enough, I found out later that truck was like had this really sketchy repair done on it. Blue Devil, like the engine was blown, and they put this Blue Devil liquid in it to like fill whatever.
I see them, so it would work for a certain amount of time, so you could sell it.
Yeah, but it worked actually. I mean, it blew up on me before I learned that.
I see.
So I put it up for sale, letting people know that it was a blown engine. Sold it pretty cheap, and the guy changed out the engine and sold it.
I see.
But when I had the ad up, somebody called me and told me, oh, that was my truck. I had the blown engine. I sold it to this guy. I was like, oh, I bought it from that guy. And he was like, oh, yeah, he probably Blue Deviled it or whatever. But it's all good. It worked out, and it made us enough money to get another truck and keep going. So
nice. Putting money back in and starting to grow. How long have you been doing the tree business for?
So we've been doing it. This is our 4th year.
4th year. Oh, nice. I mean, it's great in Hawaii. We were talking about this because all year round we have growth, and then when rains come, things grow more. It just seems like there's a lot of just 365 days a year of growth. Basically, it's not like other places where it's just cold and you can't tree trim.
Yeah.
So it's a good business for the tropics. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, year round. A lot of people on the mainland, what they do is like, oh, okay, we do trees, and then in the winter we're a snow plowing business.
Yeah,
They have the tree trucks have snow plows on their front, so that in the winter they can
switch
go
it out
and do that.
Yeah.
But here,
all year round.
Yeah, all year round.
Nice.
A little bit slower around Christmas. Just everyone's enjoying the holidays and everything. So we take a little vacation then. But it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, and you guys got a nice place, and work's just picking up. I guess you're hiring dudes, and it's going.
It's good.
Moving quite a lot. Moving
last
along.
year was definitely we've grown as time goes on. So,
I mean, would MMA ever feed into your income streams? You think? Is that in your head at all? About
yeah. I mean, I would like to do this as my profession.
Yeah.
I'm more passionate about it.
Yeah.
But I'm also, I know that what's supporting my family, my wife and my 1-year-old. So I have to be. I'm not like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna like quit my business or like,
I mean, it's training, isn't it? I mean, it's physically not easy. I mean, I've seen you guys work. I've seen my nephew and the stuff he does. I mean, it's not easy physically. I mean, you gotta have some serious street work. Yeah. I mean, the weight of moving branches, the weight of the gear, hauling yourself up, and ropes. I mean, it's it's probably a type of training, right? I mean,
it's definitely another like little like, oh, I don't do cardio, but I work. I work doing the trees. I don't do lifting, but I lift logs. I lift logs and for some days all day. You know what I mean? You just have to. You lift logs. You're doing squats. You're doing deadlifts. You're doing overhead press. So, I mean, it's pretty. I mean, it's good in that sense, right? Because it's like my workout's kind of built into my job.
Right.
And some people, they go to work and then they go to the gym. Right?
Yeah.
'Cause they haven't got all
right.
that
They
stuff
haven't been
out.
sitting at a desk all day.
So I'm grateful in that sense.
Yeah, that's nice.
Sometimes, it's something that, you appreciate when you first get into it, and then sometimes it just becomes like work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when you look at it again from a good perspective. You're like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, you get
Work
paid to train.
outside,
Paid to
work
train. You're
outside
getting
in
paid to train. There you go. You're a
beautiful
professional.
Hawaii. Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. Thanks so much for sharing all this. I was fascinating hearing you talk about the MMA stuff and all the training and what it going into it and getting out of it. I mean, it's just amazing to me that you guys can step in rings, and and it's just it's always like, yeah. I mean, fighting, and I mean, it's a sport, but I mean, you're going after each other. Obviously, it's not like you can let up because it's a sport. I mean, the guy's coming after you. You have to go after him, or it's it's a sport. But I mean, it's what's it called?
It's as close as you get, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's amazing to be able to do that. And then I know the training is insane. You guys are in incredible shape. Anything else you want to kind of touch on with MMA or anything else? New dad, so that's
dad strength.
Dad strength. Yeah.
Look out.
Look out. Dad strength's a real thing. And it's great. Thanks for having kids.
Yeah.
So many people don't even have kids. It's amazing how few people have kids these days.
Yeah.
So you guys have planning on having some more?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is there any number in mind, or you don't? You just,
our numbers are different, so I'm not gonna talk
yeah,
about
right.
it.
Soon, one day they'll kind
Usually
of
after the first one. So,
yeah.
She's the one that's got to go through it.
Because you had two siblings. She was 3 of you, and then I heard she had what, 5 or 6?
No, she's 7.
7, yeah.
Yeah.
So she's got a different perspective on big families. But yeah, I guess some people who have a lot of brothers and sisters don't want to have bigger families, but some do. So I guess. But that's awesome. Congrats on that. He seems like an awesome little boy.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And he's watching you spar or anything like that. I guess he's pretty young, or what?
Yeah. There's this video we got of I'm working on one of my little. It's kind of like a boxing toy. It's got this spinning bar.
Yeah.
And you can work punches on it, and it's also kind of like a reaction drill in the sense of like you punch it spins around, you work your slip or you work your block, you work your roll under. And it was several months ago, so he was fairly young. It was one of the first things like he could tell like he was like attracted and like interested. He was just sitting there watching and he's giggling watching me do it, and then I lifted him up and then
he's like
twisted him to punch it, and he was laughing. He was enjoying it very much. So
nice.
I mean, maybe a little sparring partner at some point, but
that's awesome. So
jiu-jitsu rolling partner.
Kids just pick stuff up, it's like daddy does it, it's like I mean, did your dad do any sports? He was an athlete kind of?
Yeah, he was a tennis player in college.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
He was actually
at college level, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he was number 1 in I don't know is there like a Northeast Conference or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, so he's
Fordham.
He's up there with tennis.
Fordham.
Oh yeah. So you got maybe that individual family, individual sport kind of thing too, because tennis is definitely there's
competitive nature. Yeah. He's definitely competitive.
He's competitive. Yeah. You play tennis? You ever play tennis?
I suck at tennis.
You suck at tennis.
He used to take us, and he didn't want us to really get into tennis. Honestly, I'm not sure why exactly. Maybe because the pressure would have been quite a bit on us, maybe. Or
I see.
He just didn't want to have the pressure. He tried to get us both into soccer, something we could play together.
I see.
And I always had an interest in martial arts.
Yeah.
So I did soccer for a year or 2 with my brother. They let us play on the same team, even though I was a year younger than all the rest of the guys. And then I was like, I want to do martial arts. So they put me into martial arts for a couple of years. Then I did wrestling in high school.
Yeah.
Middle school.
That's awesome that you just get to start when you're younger. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, just a tiny bit. And I got a real appreciation for it. I was all about, I was tennis. I liked lots of sports, basketball, volleyball. And it was, my high school was a volleyball high school. it was like I didn't even think high school. I didn't even think volleyball. I thought football. I loved football. I was like always wanted to play. Always wanted to get all the gear on and like just go for it. And then high school was just this huge disappointment. The football practices were so boring. You know, it was just like I want to like play. And I was like, and I watched football trainers, you know, kids play down there, and it's like, yeah, they're just like running into this and running into that and running plays, and it's like they don't play that much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, volleyball, like my high school was like number one in the country. Like they're just unbelievable, and so I'm like, we're like, wow, and it was like everyone came out, and it was just like they're superstars, and so I'm like, all right, volleyball, you know, because it was like a volleyball high school, so.
Yeah.
I got a taste for like being on like an amazing team where we won like everything, and the coach having an amazing coach, and so that was my best sporting experience. You know, I did a lot of tennis training. I ended up just coaching. You know, so I made a lot of money afterwards. Just like when I was 16, that was my job was teaching tennis. So that's when I started making money, was teaching tennis, and that was a great experience, and being able to like start my own business and at 16 with like teaching tennis, and so I was really thankful I went through that kind of tennis program, so I could teach that, because it's really popular in Canada, indoor, because people play indoors a lot, so indoor sports in Canada, you know, and of course in New York too, indoor sports is big. It's like you got to be indoors half the year, you know, so find something to do inside. So wrestling too, I guess, you know, obviously in a gym, and you can do that all year round, so that's always. Was your high school good? Did you have like a good wrestling coach and stuff like that?
I definitely had good coaches. They kind of turned our school. You know, we've had different periods. So like many years before I went to that school, they had a good wrestling program. Then it wasn't so great for a while. We had our coach, Ryan Hearns was our head coach. He stayed with the program for quite a number of years till they started really doing well, and kind of took us from the bottom to, you know, a lot of guys were getting into states finally.
Oh, wow.
And they placed in the counties and stuff. Our county was really good, and our state, New York, is like a really good state as far as the competition with wrestling in the United States overall. And I never did that great. Best I ever did was 5th in counties, and that was like, I think I was in 8th grade wrestling a bunch of high schoolers. I think that was one. I did that
because it goes by weight, right? So
yeah, so I was wrestling other 96 pounders. I was always underweight for every
weight
year I was wrestling.
I see.
Yeah,
you were underweight.
Yeah, I was
like
that's 88 pounds.
That's not advantageous.
I was 88 pounds wrestling 96
I
pounders.
see. Yeah,
seniors, and getting crushed by like one of the most extreme losses I had was that year. They brought me. They didn't have a 96 pounder, so the high school brought me on from the 8th grade. I was undefeated my 7th grade year against all the rest of the middle schoolers, and so they brought me up for the 96 pounds. And my first wrestling tournament, I was like, you know, I'd come from last year beating everybody.
Right.
This senior dude was like, you know, jacked, probably cut weight to get to 96 pounds, and he just absolutely demolished me. And I was like, holy crap, like this is, you know.
Sports, that's what's great about sports. Yeah, it's like you're on the top one day and the next day you're zero. So I think sports are so good for kids because, I mean, entrepreneurship, right? I mean, you get so many losses in trying stuff and doing stuff, and having that ability to lose and not just, you know, cry a river and quit, you know, being able to like, you know, step it up and go back and try again. Because, I mean, in sports you lose as much as you win, probably more, right? So being able to, you know, come back from that. What were you cutting weight? Is that, hey, quiet. Cutting weight, is that, how's that for you? Is that you?
I'm not cutting too much.
Yeah.
So.
How many days do you have to recover? Like, how many days do you weigh in?
You weigh in, like for the UFC, they weigh in the morning, on the morning on Friday, and they fight on Saturday
So
night.
that they don't have a lot of time to recover.
They have over 24 hours.
Is that enough usually?
I mean, it depends on
How much you're cutting.
right?
Yeah.
But for me, I didn't feel super affected by any of my weight cuts. I'm
Okay.
cutting about 10 pounds, 11 pounds, 12 pounds.
Yeah. Right.
So, or I mean, even one of my fights, maybe I got up back to like 178.
Uh-huh.
So, as far as the water that I was cutting, but it's pretty interesting because I was 195 or 195 at like my highest before I had my first fight, and that was maybe 4 months out. Got COVID, lost a bunch of weight during COVID. I didn't really eat for a couple days, and then the training, I thought I was already in good shape, but like I was fighting at 185 for my first fight, and I weighed in at 183. Didn't cut a shred of weight. Just that's what I weighed.
Yeah.
And then for my next couple fights, I was like, 180, and then cutting down to 170. And
So 10 pounds.
getting back up to 180 by the time of the fight.
You guys have 24 hours too? Is it about 24 hours?
So yeah, we go Friday night weigh in, Saturday night fight. So we have a little bit less time, but most people are cutting a little, quite a bit less weight than the guys fighting in the UFC. So.
Right. I see. Awesome, man. Thanks this has been great. Yeah.
Thank you
Appreciate
very much
your
for the
time. And I
opportunity.
think people are going to really like this. So thanks for joining us. And we'll keep everyone posted, and hopefully we can have you back.
Sounds
you're
good.
just getting started, so it's exciting getting to interview you at the beginning here. It seems like, and I'm stoked to see you fight. I was sad I missed your last ones, so I definitely want to go see
I'll send videos to you sometime.
Yeah, and check
'em
out some video, and then we could do some video
And
stuff
you gotta
too.
come to the next one.
I definitely gotta come next one for sure. Yeah, I'm stoked to watch. So, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very well.
Namaste.